In cold weather, the wrong shelter kills faster than hunger. Most people build what looks strong, not what stays warm. This is the best cold weather shelter and why almost everyone gets it wrong. Cold weather survival isn't about how tough you are. It's not about building a massive roaring fire. It's about thermodynamics. It is a quiet, desperate battle against heat loss. The goal isn't to conquer the cold, it's to slow your body's heat loss just enough to survive the night. What we're going to break down now is what the best shelter actually is, and why those big, impressive log structures you see in movies are often just beautifully crafted coffins. The core rule is simple. The best cold weather shelter is the one that does 4 things, and only 4 things, perfectly. It blocks the wind completely. It insulates you from the ground. It traps your body heat in the smallest space possible, and crucially, it requires the least amount of your precious energy to build. If it doesn't do all 4, it's a failure. So let's redefine the word best. When you think of the best shelter, you probably imagine something tall enough to stand in, spacious enough to move around, maybe a complicated or impressive design. Forget all of that. In a cold weather survival situation, best means something entirely different. Best means small. It means low to the ground. It often means it's ugly, and it absolutely means it was fast to build. Here's a simple test. If you can stand up comfortably inside your shelter, it is probably wasting a fatal amount of body heat. So what is the #1 best cold weather shelter? It's not a cabin, it's not a tent replacement. It is a micro shelter built directly around your body. Think of it as wearable insulation, not a building. This design wins every time for a few inescapable reasons. It has a tiny volume of air, which means your body doesn't have to work hard to warm it up. This leads to minimal heat loss. It uses the heat you're already producing with maximum efficiency, and you can build one almost anywhere with whatever's on hand. Examples? A debris cocoon, where you literally bury yourself in a thick pile of leaves and pine needles inside a small frame. A snow trench dug just wide enough for your body and covered with a layer of snow on branches. Even a simple blanket bivvy wrapped tightly to eliminate air gaps. A lean-to only works if it's tiny and completely sealed on all sides. You have to understand, cold kills through exposure, not a lack of walls. You might be thinking about igloos. Why do they work? The science is incredibly simple. Snow is mostly trapped air, and trapped air is one of the best insulators on the planet. The structure of an igloo or a snow trench completely, 100% blocks the wind. The key insight here is revolutionary for most people. Snow shelters don't keep heat out, they keep your body heat in. The actionable takeaway, even if you're not in the snow, is this: trapped air equals warmth, and wind protection matters far more than the thickness of your walls. If this already sounds different from most of the survival advice you've heard, subscribe. This channel focuses on what actually keeps people alive, not what looks cool on camera. Now, let's talk about why people die in what look like good shelters. The fatal mistakes are almost always the same. First, sleeping directly on the ground. Second, building a large interior space that their body heat has no chance of warming. Third, poor wind sealing, tiny gaps that let the cold bleed in all night. And fourth, moisture buildup, from your breath, from your sweat, from melting snow. A dry, tiny shelter beats a dry, spacious one every single time. The real enemy, the one that gets most people, isn't the air, it's the ground. The ground is a massive, relentless heat sink. It conducts heat away from your body continuously, and it doesn't care one bit how warm the air in your shelter is. You could be in a 70-degree room, but if you're lying on a 30-degree concrete slab, you will freeze. This is why you must insulate below you before you insulate above you. The best insulation in order is a proper sleeping pad. After that, your backpack, emptied and laid flat, along with any spare clothes. Below that, a piece of cardboard, and at the bottom of the list, a thick 6 to 8 inch layer of compressed dry leaves or pine needles. The rule is absolute. Insulate below before above. The shape of your shelter is also critical. What works best is a very low ceiling, rounded or sloped sides which shed wind and reflect your own heat back at you, and one single, very small entrance that you can plug up. What fails? Flat walls that catch the wind, tall roofs that collect a huge pocket of useless cold air above your head, and multiple openings that create a heat-sucking draft. Cold shelters should look cramped and uncomfortable because that's precisely why they work. This brings us to a hard truth: fire versus shelter. In movies, the hero survives by a roaring fire. In reality, fire is a trap. It burns through fuel at an incredible rate. It inevitably dies down while you're asleep, leaving you colder than before. And worse, it can make you sweat. That moisture then freezes on your body, fast-tracking you to hypothermia. A shelter has every advantage. It works while you sleep. It requires no fuel. It carries no risk of setting your camp or yourself on fire. Remember this: fire is optional, shelter is not. This all comes down to the single biggest myth in cold weather survival. People think warmth comes from heat sources, like a fire. That's wrong. Warmth comes from heat retention. Your body is the furnace, the shelter is the insulation. Your only job is to stop the heat you're already making from escaping. So here it is, the 30-second cold shelter checklist. Ask yourself these 4 questions. 1. Does it block the wind completely? Not mostly, completely. 2. Does it insulate you from the ground? You need several inches of barrier. 3. Does it trap a small pocket of air around your body, so small it feels tight? 4. Does it keep you dry from the outside and from yourself? If your shelter does all 4 of those things, you will survive the night. The best survival shelter for cold weather isn't big, strong, or impressive. It's small, boring, and efficient. Build for heat retention, not comfort, and the cold loses its advantage.